Hello, everybody. My name is Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Entrepreneur Chef, and you guys gonna love today's guest. First of all, I worked with him. He's an amazing human being. He is one of those guys you see out there which could do anything. I also made me upset as I worked with him because he was so good in working with people. And I'll tell you right after this. Hello again. My name is Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show, and you guys gonna love today's guest. So, as I started talking earlier, he was a VP of one of the sectors within Compass Group, and if you guys know, Compass Group is the largest food service company in the world. He worked in the healthcare division. He worked in the senior living. He worked in the pre K to 12 school system. I mean, this guy did it all. Not only did he all from that perspective. Listen. He's an amazing human being. He went out there and he made jobs for other people. He was the guy which had meals solutions across New York. He is not only one of the very few guys which are really good friends of me. He is just really amazingly good in what he does. And for the last 4 years, he worked as the VP for the Tiny Spoon Chef. So with that, I want to welcome Mr. Jared Becker. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Christian. It's good to connect with you. You know, you have a small circle of really good friends, and I'm glad to put you in that circle.
I really appreciate it. So, Jared, before we get started, help our listeners understand a little bit. Who is Jared Becker? Why did Christian try to get him on the show for over a year? So tell him a little bit about who you are, how you came to be, and how did you wind up in Tiny Spoon Chef?
Sure. Good accidents happen to good people, I think. It's a small ride coming out of culinary school and then saying, hey, what am I going to do? And spending years working in different types of restaurants and venues and country clubs. And then from there, finding contract food service, which if you're familiar with Compass Group, sixth largest employer in the world, everything you could want to do for food, but management training programs, great people, small conversations, great mentorship programs. Really, you can come in and start at the bottom and work your way up. And I'm definitely proof of that. And when you put all of the systems together and you follow the programs and keep working hard, you find out one day that everybody likes what you've put together and you get that position to really make a difference and give it back. And that's been awesome. COVID happened, and then, I had this idea to have a conversation with the founder of Tiny Spoon Chef, Janice, and we hit it off. And from there, very small team working in Boston, and now we're in 12, 15 states and, hiring lots and lots of chefs everywhere to give them this great quality of life and help clients have these amazing meals and time back in their day. It's a really great experience, but starting with that small team, very little solutions, needing to bring everything in to scale and grow. And, that's been the amazing part of the ride is you get to put the people together with the technology, and wow, that's a lot.
So I love your story, but you left out some of the really good juice. So there's so many of our listeners which started out, hey, I want to go into food. They go into food, and I think if you stay in food more than a year, is because you're meant to be there, and that's a person you are. So talk to us a little bit. How did you wind up being a chef? Because you're a good-looking guy, you could do so many different things. And so, how did you wind up being a chef, and how did you become the VP of Culinary for one of the largest food service companies in the world?
Yeah, becoming a chef, is about taking your love and your passion that you learn when you're cooking every day. My favorite job was my first job, cooking, spending time at the dishwasher. I learned so much technique and could see everything going on. And when the food came back, you could discuss it with the chef. From there, you just really start to love that wow factor when you're putting that plate in front of somebody and getting different experiences and finding, is this the right restaurant? Is this the right team? Okay, I've got this. I'm going to move on to the next one. Spending a little bit of time in California in Napa Valley was definitely a pinnacle for my career, and just passion, food, wine, every day. You're tasting great cheeses, meeting great chefs, traveling to Yountville. And, you put these experiences together because they're a little step. You don't think at the time like, oh, this is my career ladder. I'm going to do this skill and then get to this and this. It's more of a lazy river, and you get the experience in place and an idea, and then you're there. Being the chef part of it, that's a whole different step over the edge with me and see if we can make this happen. You flip around everything that you've done for yourself and what you've learned, and now you flip it back and you're trying to manage people and resources and financial implications come into the operation, and everything you've learned, you're giving back. And so that is
Mhm.
just been an amazing experience. And always wanting to reach for harder, faster, more like chefs, I found myself gradually moving up in positions and learning so much. And with Compass Group, because it was so large, I was able to work in a lot of different silos and not just learn only the food, but a lot of retail and marketing and all of these systems that came in from a support perspective and financials. When you learn it at a large scale, you can always go down. But if you've always worked very small, it's very challenging to try and go and scale that way. So for me, make that chef thing happen.
Yeah.
That was a and that was truly all I ever dreamed about before culinary school. And then you flip that into this career and you meet great people and they're, hey, come on, let's do this. And you show that you can dig in and work. I was there early and I left late and I worked very hard in between to learn and grow. I think your friends are good mentors and books. And now you can go to YouTube and TikTok and you can learn so much faster than how we had to do it in School of Hard Knocks. So many different challenging ways to make that happen.
I love that. And Jared, not only is it your mission to make great food accessible to everyone with Tiny Spoon Chef, I think as I heard the first time that you have that job, I was like, fucking, he's amazing at this. Because not only is he really good in explaining food, he's really good in working with people. And not only that, he's going to blow this out of the water. So we started talking before the show. It's 4 years. I mean, it's absolutely crazy, how fast time flies. So can you talk to us a little bit? What inspired you to work with Tiny Spoon Chef, and how has it evolved since you started?
Yeah. I mentioned earlier it was a conversation. I'm drawn to working with really good, amazing people. And Janice is a great friend of mine, and we go to work every day in that way. And that just makes everything else blossom. So since then, we've obviously added on a lot of members. We're a little over 60 or almost 70 headcount now. So it's grown
Wow.
from just a couple. And within that, all the departments before were just managed as one person. And now you have a marketing department and you have an HR department and payroll and systems technology that come in behind that. The hard part is, taking it and scaling it.
Yeah.
It's one thing to say, hey, this is how the business exists and just repeat it every day. You as a chef, you get good at making one dish and you're like, oh, hey, I really know how to make this bouillabaisse, so I can make it and I get really good at it. That's expertise of every cook and chef in the world, is how can I be consistent with that? But when you want to take and break it all apart and make it bigger and scale it and serve it for 5,000 people, you've got a good challenge. And, this
Yeah.
ride for, you mentioned 4 years is it's been astronomical, because there's incredible people that are on our team that I've got to work with and gotten to know, and that they've brought their skills in, and we've been able to multiply that. And that part's really exciting too.
I love that. And to our listeners, if you guys are interested in working with a great company, you need to check out Tiny Spoon Chef. It's amazing what they do. So since you with Tiny Spoon Chef, so what have been your biggest challenges? What has evolved since you started? So talk to us a little bit how you took this from really it was an idea, and how do you made it to a program which has 60 plus people in headcount.
Yeah. I think at the beginning it was COVID. So that had certain parameters and restrictions, but it also, provided new ways to think about the business and scale it. And like I said earlier, a great partnership. So with Janice, she's really the founder and the entrepreneur that started it and bootstrapped it and has made things just really, providing that other part of the energy that you need to walk with it and make it happen. And so one good thing happened to the next. When you meet another great chef, you want to bring them on and you have to grow. If you're in a restaurant, you only have so many seats and you're limited by that. In our world, we can continue to scale and grow as we find these great chefs and we connect them with great clients and we take care of all the work and behind and build the systems that improve it. It's phenomenal.
Sure. You make it sound so easy. That it's not easy to balance creativity with the need and the requests of the clients. So talk to us a little bit. How can you manage that, and how can somebody who is currently in the industry manage that?
It's a good question. I think, creativity is own beast, because
Hmm.
as a chef, you may have this inner soul that you want to make the best dishes of the world. And in our way, we really listen to what the client wants. They're telling
Yeah.
us need these nutritional needs, or I had this dish, when I traveled in this country, and we have
Yeah.
to make that for them. It's not like they say, hey, I'm just going to come to this Italian restaurant and have this cuisine. We've got to know everything. And so when you say creativity, it also unleashes, because we can do anything. We're not beholden to one theme or one budget. We can do anything they want and go anywhere they want to go. And
Hmm.
many of our clients want to keep traveling and learning and more through the cooking that we bring for them. So that's awesome. And some are looking for health and wellness, so we do that as well.
Yeah.
Chefs get to go out there and cook what they want every day, and that's a great chain that's probably handcuffed them for a long time in the different places they work, and we don't have to have that.
Yeah. I love that, and I encourage our listeners to check out the website of Tiny Spoon Chef and see what they do. I love the pictures on it; it's absolutely amazing. So, there's a lot of organizations like Tiny Spoon Chefs out there. So, talk to us a little bit. What sets you apart, or what sets Tiny Spoon Chef apart from other services which are in the industry?
Yeah, it's focused on the chef, and I think
Hmm.
that's very different. We say something when our chefs come aboard. We hope this is the last job you ever have. And when, from Janice through on down, we agree with that. How can we make the system, the place that they want to be, the culture, the process, working with clients, working with the staff, the tools that they have, how can we make this the best and give them opportunity to grow and to have, be home at 6 o'clock for dinner in their um, own homes. It's just an extraordinary experience. So that's what drives us, meeting those chefs, giving them this opportunity, and putting the systems in place that help.
I love that. I love that. But it's not easy to stay ahead of the trends, and not just stay ahead of the trends, but ensuring that these are being met with your clients. So how do you do that?
We've got good team members and collaboration. So many ways that we have internally. We've got mechanisms for reviewing recipes and reading client communications and reviewing menus, but it goes a little deeper than that. When you all of a sudden don't have one chef at the top, let's say, controlling the menu and saying, this is what we're going to do, every single chef can collaborate and work, and
Hmm.
you get
I love that.
inspired by them. And every week we have chefs talking about what's inspiring them, or in season, or a dish that a client asked for, and how they're making it, and a new way to it's the whole team coming together to collaborate, and that makes it,
Yeah.
the power of many is always going to be stronger and win. And
I,
it's exciting to share your ideas with that too.
I love that. And for me, there was one reason I thought you got to be, this job is perfect for you. Number one. Number two, I think you are one of the very few people I know who has that innate gift on make people feel welcome. And actually, I wrote it down here. I hope this is the last job you ever have, because that's, for me, is huge. So how do you do that? How do you find the right people? How do you make sure they fit within what you do as an organization? And how do you have them execute on your levels at all times?
We have a great culture and we want to protect it. And I think that's where it
Mhm.
starts. We're not just looking for another body, whether it be a chef or for the office team. And we have a very long interview process, and they have to cook, of course. And we get to know them and spend, a lot of time learning and asking questions about it. And we've developed some questions along the way that we can kind of say, okay, these are, they answer these questions this way. We know there are people. And there's no way to make it fast. You can't just say, "Oh, in 30 seconds, I know this person's going to be great on our team or not." We've worked through that. It's a big funnel that you've got to go through a lot of it to get to the right people. But it's worth it, because we know that we want the people working side by side with each other that
Yeah.
have the same values and the same culture, and they want to win, not just for themselves, but for the whole company and their teammates and for that region. It's a huge win when you're side by side with everybody pulling their weight.
I love that. And again, you make it sound so simple, because it comes natural to you. So let's go back a step, and I love and I want to know more about the Tiny Spoon Chef, but I'm interested more in you. There was a time for you where you had to make a decision, and this was before COVID, and saying, "Hey, do I keep going in that direction of being corporate? Do I go out there on my own?" And there's a lot of our listeners which are in that their particular predicament, or if you want to call it. So how did you get yourself out of it? How did you manage yourself to get a job like you currently have, and you're absolutely good at that? So help us understand a little bit, and help, maybe there's a thing or two you did our listeners can implement to kind of do that, because it's not an easy industry, it's not an easy job. So talk to us a little bit about how did you work through that to get a job like you have currently with Tiny Spoon.
Yeah. I mean, I think after you do a few jobs, any industry, you start to figure out the things that you like to do and the things that you don't like to do, and really the things that you start to get good at. And I think you've mentioned many of some great skills that I have and attributes that really can be valuable in any company, but finding the way that happens. One of the things that's strong for me is I know I belong as a number two, a second in command. And I like that person up on top that's leading and spokesperson, and does so many of those skill sets really, really well. I can go to Janice and say, hey, can you proofread this email before I send it out? It's great collaboration that way. And on the other hand, she doesn't have to worry if we have all the office supplies and new people have an onboarding program. We've got people and systems in place, and I'm very proud of the way that we put it together and the technology that's there. But inside, you've got to ask yourself who you are and what your skills are really. And the further you go up the ladder, you need to know what you're willing to risk, what you're not willing to risk, politics, all of that comes into play. And so this was a huge advantage for me to really be into this ecosphere of personal chefs, where you get to know the clients, you get to know the chefs, and really make a difference. And I think that really resonates with me. I'm going to work hard wherever I'm at, and being able to have that effect and being able to support the system that way, that's huge. So I don't know, everybody's got to find their own thing, and it worked for me, and I've got great mentors that helped along the way.
Again, you make it sound so simple, because I just what, I knew I was really good at this. So let's go a step deeper. So there is this point where you're saying, you know what, I'm not really sure if this industry is right for me. And a lot of our listeners are in this today. They know they meant to do more. They know they meant not just to do more, but support people in a greater way. They know that they can do more with other clients. They know if I go out there, I can do so many greater things. But they are just afraid to do that. So talk to us a little bit. How did you manage that?
I couldn't tell you that I could go out and sell myself, right? I couldn't go out on the street. I know that I don't want to own my own thing and, be the boss. I love the number two, like I said. And, we talked about feeling it and doing a few things so you know what you like and you don't like. My recommendation for somebody when it's, hey, how do I strike it out on my own? We all know the opportunity with having a side hustle, and how can you bring that boat closer to the dock and then jump. And I think there's a lot of courage in an entrepreneur that's willing to try it, even if they think they're going to fail, to make that happen. And maybe I don't have that. I think of, I don't have it all. I know that go out and hang up a shingle outside of the house, that's not who I am. And so for the entrepreneur that has that, that's an amazing strength, and they should leap into that. And they might get dirty on the fall, but they'll come back up and stand again and take what they've learned and build it into the next one. So yeah, it's huge, but I encourage them to run for it, because you only have so many days here.
I love that. And at the end of the day, I just lost a really good friend of mine of 32 years. And for me, as I heard people reading some of the reflections of him, it really hit home with me, because he loved what he did. He worked for the same organization for 34 years. They offered him to be a senior executive or whatever. I forgot what the position was. He says, no, I'm comfortable in the kitchen. I want to be the chef. I'm taking on some other stuff, but please don't take me out of the kitchen. And for me, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, because it's one of the things which really humbled me. And I said, that's why I fell in love with him. That's why we were friends for 34 years. That's why every time I needed somebody, I called him. And if I did this, so were 100 other people. And the same thing is with you. Because for you and I, we don't talk for a year. I call you, and we we
We can't
start
stop.
off where we left off. And for me, I'm first of all, I'm gratefully humbled for this relationship I have with you. I love what you did with Tiny Chef. I think you are an entrepreneur. You said you don't. I think you are. So talk to me a little bit as a culinary entrepreneur. Even though you think you're not, what is the most rewarding thing doing something you currently do with Tiny Spoon Chef?
I had to learn some new skills, right? We're in the kitchen. If a vendor brings you new ingredients and you get to play with them and build a dish out of that. And one of the things that I had to help support Tiny Spoon Chef with is something called a new tech stack. So all of our
Hmm.
software that works for everything, we needed to build it completely new. And as a chef, I'm good if I can get my hands on the product physically and put a knife in a saute pan and do the magic with it. And from a
Yeah.
technology aspect, which drives so much of business today, everything from using it for financials and marketing, you need a website and you need accounting software, and putting that all together and testing it and developing and working with vendors. That was the biggest thing that we took on for the last year, and a skill set that wasn't native to what I have
Yeah.
known. I've known some of the language, but putting that together, hardest thing, but most rewarding because it helps us in everything that we do, having best in class technology for all of our team to use. So,
Hmm.
not necessarily food focused, but it's the backbone of what we have. And now we can do so much more with it as a company and scale and grow and keep making those great jobs for chefs.
I love that, and again, I for me is watching what Tiny Spoon Chef did and how you have brought it to the organization. 60 plus people big today. I honestly believe the success of Tiny Spoon Chef is because of you. And it's because of what you brought to the organization. I love that you say, "Hey, I'm a number two." I love that you said, "Hey, I had my boss read my email today." How many chefs and entrepreneurs out there saying, "Hey, I'm not letting them see what if you want to call it a weakness or whatever." But for me, I love this about you, and you extremely, extremely good in what you do. So help me understand. So if somebody is in the shoes like you to do something totally different, what is the words of wisdom you have for them, or what kind of advice do you have for them?
I'm nicknamed like the conductor at work, keeping the trains running on time. And
Oh, that, by the way.
it always comes back to the discipline of investing into yourself. And yes, I've done lots of college, from the Culinary Institute of America and bachelor's and even an MBA. And
Hmm.
through that time, my work career progressed as well. And my relationships and understanding how to, build mentors and friends and connections and travel for work and be in new experiences and not afraid to take the risk. All of
Yeah.
that is investing in myself that got to that point that could help make that decision and push it forward. So if somebody's out there and saying, how can I do it? Or what do I need to do? It's invest in yourself. You can't afford to go pay somebody to build a big website for you to get started. Learn how to
Yeah.
do it yourself. There's so many great systems.
Love
You
that.
can't
I
do
love that.
financial software, or you need to go and do that next catering gig or write that book. Figure out how to do it. There's great people to talk with that we're going to be happy to tell you, but invest in yourself and learn how to do it, whether it's a whole tech stack or these simple pieces that help your business move forward. Invest in
Hmm.
yourself, learn how to do it, and make the friendships and connections with the people,
I,
because,
I
like
love
you
that.
mentioned,
That's some
that's it.
really good, really good advice. By the way, to our listeners out there, I want you to go back a minute or two and listen to what he said, because what he said transcends industries. It doesn't make a difference if you're a contractor. It doesn't make a difference if you're currently selling cars. What you just said is so true. And I believe that's your key for success. So I absolutely love that. So let us look a little bit into the future. Where do you see your company going? Where do you see you want to invest in? Where you guys going to go? And finally, so this kind of threefold. What is one or two things you're working on behind the scenes?
Where to go? We want to continue to expand. We've gotten some great systems now, and we can repeat that. And we've got some really great people, director of culinary and, client success team members, and, in payroll and HR. We've figured out a lot of things. So we definitely want to continue to scale and grow in that way. The industry, I think more people need more help at home, and they may not even know that they need that support or that it's available. And when you're sitting at home struggling with, I've got to cook and make for this allergy, or these 3 people need different food items, and we can provide that resource, you get your life back, that 5 to 7 hours a week, and you're not racing home to go to the grocery store and fight with somebody about who was supposed to pick up milk or the other 2 ingredients. It's just discovered, and I think that's really going to help it grow. And I'm fortunate for that to be doing what we do. When we think about the company side of things and building and what's next, I have made some significant pushes on the basics, but I do think that there's new ways to think about it. From Tiny Spoon Chef perspective, we've got these really great, talented chefs, and they have all of these other areas of interest. We can't wait to unlock that potential and see what it does for us. I think that I can't let some ideas out of the box that we're doing right now, but when you have that much talent bottled up, great things are going to happen.
I love that. So give us the little thing. What is the thing or two you're currently working behind the scenes?
So right now we're working on a couple of different more technology solutions. The top of that program for us is payroll. Lifeblood, making sure everybody gets paid. And so we've had a couple of different vendors, and that works. The next thing that we're doing is heavily for this year, number 1 on my list, is developing training materials for everybody, every role, every job function, and making it best in class so that everybody understands exactly what they need to do, and everybody else can really have a system where they can remember it or change it. It's always being updated. So that's my biggest thing is, as you scale, you want to know that you have done the hard work ahead of time to put the training materials in place.
I absolutely love that. By the way, to our listeners out there, there's really 3. I could write down 5 things, but there's 3 things I have here written down. Number 1 is working with a friend. And for me, I never realized this until I started this company now, 7 years ago. And the people I have here, they're not just my people. I made them financially responsible for some stuff, but they also have incentives in it. So we are almost 30% employee owned. So that was number 1. So I absolutely love that, man. I said, hey, you said here, hey, I lost a job, but this is the best job I ever had. So for me, that really hit home. How often do our listeners feel today, this is the best job I ever had, and this is the last job I will ever have? I absolutely love that about you. And then I have here, you said, hey, what will I or one of our people do? Because we're improving constantly, and they're doing an amazing job out there because they highlight what they're great at. And for me, that I underlined because we need to do more of that, because there's a lot of friends we have which are in the industry, which amazingly good at, and they only spend that much time working on the things they're really good at. And you really be saying, hey, I want to look at payroll because I want to make sure people are getting paid. For you really put all of this stuff into their court. So they doing what they are good at, probably 80, 90% of the time.
Absolutely. Get the right people on the right seat of the bus.
So for me, I absolutely love that. And that was my key takeaways. So help people understand a little bit more of who you are. So ask people or tell people, hey, where can they find out more about you? Where can they find more about Tiny Spoon Chef? And then I want to see if you want to play something called Rapid Fire Question Food Service Edition. So, but before we start that, help us get to know a little bit more about you and how people can find out more information about you.
Absolutely. My bio is even on our website, tinyspoonchef.com. Great place to go and learn. There's lots of education on there as well, and learn more about us. LinkedIn, if you need to know more about me. I do keep my home life pretty private, except for the people on the team. They know lots about kids and what I do for fun and hobbies and things like that. And, it's a closed circle, right? We share that information and keep it moving forward. And if you've got a game I'm interested in playing, I hope I win big.
Okay, I encourage all of our listeners, do not invite him because he's really good in what he does. Okay, so are you up for playing Rapid Fire Question Food Service Edition?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the way this works is really simple. I will ask you for a number between 1 and 25. I read out the question out loud, and then you can answer really quickly. It's a yes or no and why answer. So you good for that?
Sure, bring it on.
Okay, here goes. By the way, brand new off the press. You have the brand new 25 questions. So talk to me. Give me a number between 1
Number
and 25.
2.
Should ramen noodles be legit breakfast foods? Yes or no, and why?
No. Um, I know there's some people on my team that wouldn't believe that, but for me, that meal is very satiating, and something like that would, definitely slow me down for the day.
Oh, there's a whole movement against you. So you out. Okay, give me a number between 1 and 25.
Number 10.
Number 10. Should all foods serve with a surprise ingredient just for fun? Yes or no, and why?
As a chef, I absolutely love that idea. Bring it on. Show me a surprise. From a safety aspect, can't do it. Need to put the allergens out there.
I agree. I think it needs a few standards, but I love that. Okay, give me a number between 1 and 25.
13.
13. Should mac and cheese be eaten straight from the pot? Yes or no, and why?
Love that. Of course.
Why? Why? Because it should not be eaten from the pot. But
Who needs to wait any longer to get the yum in? Who needs to wait?
Okay, guys, don't listen to him. Get yourself a dish. It's so much better. Okay, give me a number between 1 and 25.
19.
19. Oh, should more dishes be named after people's like heartbreaker pie? Yes or no, and why?
I think sometimes it can be interesting, but I feel like if it was more, it would be overdone. So I would have to say no. Let's just keep it very sparse so that it still has meaning.
That's the first thing we agree on. We don't want don't want to hear some of the stuff people are up to. Okay, give me a number between 1 and 25.
20.
20 is an oldie but goodie. Pineapple on a pizza. Yes or no, or why?
Yes, I grew up with it. I get the controversy of it, and I feel like I had it with canned pineapple, but it was good. The salty and the sweet. I'm in.
There's a whole movement. Get the pineapple off the pizza. Okay, last question. Give me a number between 1 and 25.
4.
4. Oh, if food can be eaten with chopsticks, even if you're not good at it, yes or no, and why?
I love it. We think of the portion of the world that does use chopsticks. It's huge. They do everything with that. We're used to the fork and knife in the U.S., but eating other cultures and the way that they do, bring it on. I love a good challenge.
I love it. Thanks for playing Rapid Fire Question Food Service Edition. So, Chef Chad, for our listeners out there, what is the last word of wisdom you have for them?
If I'm doing it and I want to create something and I'm working hard and I'm investing in myself, one of the things that I can do that are very low is read. And I go to the library with my kids and I get books and I see authors, and it's had a fundamental change on my career, but certainly the things that we do at Tiny Spoon Chef. And I would just encourage them, read, both for fun, for work, for career, for food curiosity, read.
I love that. That's some really good advice. And with that, I want to say thanks for being here today. Thanks for the gift of your time. Thanks for sharing so freely of your experience and all the things you guys do. So, Chef Jared, I really appreciate you being here today. So that was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. I appreciate the time.
And to our listeners, if you haven't done so, make sure you get to the disruptivechef.com, check out what we do. Also, check us out in our YouTube channel. We have a new YouTube channel today. We would love to have you as one of our guests. And then also, please leave a comment on today's show. What do you agree with it? What do you don't agree with some of the things he said? I hope you know pineapple needs to get off the pizza. So I hope until next time to disrupt your kitchen, fire up your career, and stay hungry for change. I'm here with Chef Jared. I'm Christian, the entrepreneur, and we are out of here. So with that, I want to say thanks for being here today. Go out there, be the chef, be the change, be the challenge, and be the chef who sets the world on fire. So with that, bon appetit and stay hungry, everybody. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.